welcome back to my channel. So today I am finally doing another one of those tea dragons. Now if you missed my last video, this is basically a series that I'm starting, and this is the second of the series, by the way, of a series of dragons inspired by different varieties of tea. Now this can sometimes be in a more literal sense or a slightly less obvious sense. Now this dragon is going to be one of the less obvious. Now basically when you see this dragon, you're not like immediately going to think, oh, Earl Grey. No, that's not how I want it to be, but I actually wanted to do a bit of a similar color palette, and part of the dragon's backstory is going to be a little bit inspired, kind of. Now enough of that elusiveness of what I'm trying to explain. I started off sketching this out on my iPad Pro using Procreate. Now a lot of people have recently asked me what program I use for my iPad, and yes, it's definitely Procreate. I have experimented in the past with other varieties of software, however Procreate is pretty much the one I mostly use. Now as you can see, I've mostly got this sketch done, and I'm actually doing something slightly different with the scales than I usually do. As you can see, these scales are kind of more pointy, and the pattern is a little bit different to the way I usually do it. Now I mainly wanted to do this as a small nod to the citrus notes in Earl Grey tea. As you can see, the scales sort of look like the shape of a lemon, except a little bit more pointy, I guess. I didn't want it to be overly obvious. I still wanted to stylize it in a way that looked really cool for dragon scales, so yeah. Now I know I'm drawing a lot of scales on this dragon, however I tried to keep it balanced in not having the tiny detailed scales everywhere. Some places I had slightly larger plates of I could say scale or armor or something, and yeah, I actually decided to keep the line art for these very, very thin. Now I have to say, drawing the scales for this probably took the longest out of any other detail in this drawing. It was a little bit frustrating trying to get every single one done, but once I completed it, I was like, yeah, that's definitely worth it because I really love the detail in this. Now for the pose, I kind of wanted this dragon to be mid-flight, however coming down to land. That's not overly apparent, but once I draw in the background with the sky, it's a little bit more obvious. Now as you can see, his wings are sort of bent over a little bit, and basically that's because the membranes of these wings are catching air and sort of going up a little bit, and that's just to show that it's coming down to land. After I got most of the details down, I decided to add a few little details here and there and do a darker outline around the whole piece. Now once I got that line art completely done, I decided to print it out using my Canon printer onto some Express blending card. Now as per usual, I prefer to go into the background first for these illustrations because I tend to, just prefer it that way. It's kind of like the most of the illustration, so once you get that background done, you feel like this is progressing so much, but then you have the whole figure to color in, so, that's a bit interesting. So the first thing I did was I went in with some warm greys and I just drew some like basic clouds. Now after that I went over with a pale yellow to go over the whole of the background. Now I mainly chose yellow because obviously Earl Grey is a sort of tea that has a lot of citrus flavors in it. mostly bergamot, but you can sort of taste orange or lemon in it sometimes, depending on the variety of tea you actually buy. But yeah, I wanted to hint to the tea very strongly using the color palette. So obviously I had to do a lot of yellows and stuff like that. So a little bit of personality. This dragon is quite a bit more aggressive than my usual dragons that I draw, and I feel like if you came across him in a field, he would probably attack you. Although that's mainly defensive, I don't think he goes to seek out people to kill. He is just a territorial little meanie. So most sensible people try to steer clear of him. So after I got that background mostly done, I decided to go in with some petals. Now this is mainly because, well, with Earl Grey, you mainly, a lot of the time, have what is called cornflowers, and this isn't always added, but a lot of the time when you Google Earl Grey, they definitely are in the picture. So I definitely wanted to incorporate those into my illustration a little bit. And basically my reasoning for this is that this dragon is obviously kicking up a lot of wind as he is landing, and sometimes when it's taking off as well. This is just normal because physics. So obviously he is going to kick up a lot of wind, which is going to carry petals everywhere, because I prefer to say that this dragon lives not in the mountains like my last one. However, he prefers to live in fields that are predominantly covered in flowers. Now this is mainly because it is his main habitat, I guess. But yeah, I decided to color in the wings in a bright deep orange. Now as you can see on the screen here, I tried to emulate the color of the actual tea that this illustration is of. So I definitely wanted to add that bright orangey color of the Earl Grey tea, and I thought that the wings would be a good fit because it's a part that's sort of less detailed and it would allow for that color to really shine. After that, I definitely wanted to go in with the body and sort of use a lot of dark warm greys, mainly because I was trying to picture the color palette of this tea here, which I'm showing you on the screen, and that's mainly some very dark grey kind of colors, warmish grey, the color of the tea leaves obviously, but little hints here of bits of blue and also bits of orange and sort of greeny colors, and that's mainly the parts of the citrus fruits which are sometimes added to this tea. And yeah, I want to say this dragon, he's definitely less friendly than my previous dragon. I feel like he is a little bit of a sort of sour personality, and I don't know, I feel like he's a sort of more aggressive dragon, mainly because of his looks, and yeah, I don't know, I just feel like that sort of fits the sort of strong flavors of Earl Grey. So after all of that, I decided to go in with my white gel pen and some white gouache and add some highlights. Now this is where I had a little bit of an issue. I added these highlights to the clouds thinking it would make them pop and look really nice, and however, I wasn't a huge fan. I kind of did muck up the cloud at the top a little bit, and I tried to fix it as much as I could. However, I wasn't able to get it to the point where I really wanted it to go. So obviously I went into Photoshop and just fixed those clouds. I actually softened them a little bit and sort of blended them around to make them more swirly looking, and after that I actually decided that I really like this illustration. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the process video of this illustration. If you want me to try different tea varieties, definitely comment below with a tea variety that you would like to see next as a dragon. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone!